Good evening. And if you're just tuning in, I seen you guys in the chat. Varla and I got talking. We had lots to catch up on and things to get ready. So thank you for being patient. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to 105.3 FM out of Mississippi and 107.7 out of the beautiful city of New Orleans, where we broadcast out of. This is the Angel Rock on UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio Network. And I'm your host, Lorilei Potvin. My name is, I just told you, I'm going to be spacey like this today, I guess, guys. Still getting over this flu. Anyways, I'm a Canadian psychic medium, crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner, spiritual teacher and mentor, registered nurse, animal communicator, well-versed in near-death experiences, having had one as a toddler myself and studied them professionally and personally for over 40 years, and extremely well-versed in the paranormal. I always say I didn't go looking for it. It found me, as what usually happens to all of us. And we've shared our story on the Travel Channel's Paranormal Survivor Season 4, Episode 9. You can find that if you so choose to watch it. I'll warn you, though, everything that my partner Del and I said in the show was true. We had no control over what they showed. Very grateful for it. The only thing that was really true, to right down to the last detail, was the ending, but you can find it on YouTube, I think Netflix, all over the place. So if you guys like what you see, please like, share, and subscribe. Tell all your friends, your family. Everything is not just UFO and paranormal on the network. I think we're almost up to 40 live hosts on the network. We broadcast several shows live 7 days a week here, and when we're not broadcasting live, the archive server dips into the last 25 plus years of material that we have. That's how long we've been around. So we really are broadcasting 24/7. So please tune in and tell everybody about it. If you want to watch us on TV, you can. The network does have its own TV channel on Roku. I don't have a channel code for you, but how you can find it, you're going to go to the channel store, look for the search button up in the corner. It usually is. You're going to type in UFO space P as in paranormal. There's a drop down list and you're looking, it's about the third or fourth one down for UFO, paranormal, and United Public Radio. And that is how you can watch us. Please also don't forget that I have a second show on the network on Thursday nights here, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that I co-host with my friend and fellow medium, David Hansel, called The Thing at the Foot of the Bed. And I got to make sure I got a check-off list. Sometimes I always forget. Oh, one other thing. This network does broadcast to every country in the world, believe it or not, but 80% of our audience is audio only. So I always say, if you can't see us, you can't join in the conversation. And we got a lot of our regulars here, and they know that this show and the Thursday night show I do are both very audience participative. So if you want to join, because I hate when I'm listening to a podcast and people are reading all the comments and I've got a question and it's like, well, how do I join? So this is how you do. You can go to my Facebook profile, which is under Lorilei Potvin. You can go to the networks, which is UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio Network on Facebook. We are also by the same name on our Twitch channel. And the main channel on YouTube now is for the network is UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials. We are streaming to my LinkedIn under Lorilei Potvin and the Angel Rock. My YouTube channel, the Angel Rock with Lorilei Potvin. And Roku, obviously. And just so you know, I do broadcast to Instagram here, but sometimes they've been better, but sometimes they actually cut off after an hour. So if you see that we're mid-sentence and it's like, hey, what happened? Just head over to one of the YouTube channels. I usually tell people it's the easiest and fastest. Now, you guys love her. I adore the ground she walks on. I have her on at least 4 times a year. Her name is Varla Ventura, and I'm going to read her biography. Hang on, did it skip out on me here? Oh, my goodness, it did. Hang on, I found it again. Now I need glasses. I hate you can get to that age when you need them. I thought I had skipped that scourge of not needing them. So, Varla is the author of numerous books, including her newest book, Enchanted Plants, a treasury of botanical folklore and magic, as well as she has written the 3rd issue of Shadow Zine magazine. I didn't know about this till this week, but I'm telling you, I'm going to be buying those magazines because I want to check them out. Other incredible books Varla Ventura has authored are Varla Ventura's Paranormal Parlor, and then it's followed under the same title, Ghosts, Seances, and Tales of True Hauntings, Fairies, Pookas, and Changelings, a complete guide to the wild and wicked enchanted realm. I have that book and it's amazing, as well as several other books on topics like mermaids, vampires, werewolves, banshees, freaky trivia, and more. She is a lover of all things strange, hidden history, and wild things. Are you back doing your podcast too, Varla?
just kind of put that on hiatus.
Got it. But
There's one episode out there.
I don't know how you get things done. Welcome.
Well,
So
thank you. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I love you, and I'm happy to be here.
Me too. I've had your book. So since it arrived, I have been showing it off on both shows. I have it here, but I'm going to say hi to everybody first because they've been patient. We were getting caught up here. It's been a long time. So we got Z-Sun Dragon. I call him by his muggle name. Kevin says hi. Mitch is joining us. I always tease her and say she's from the future because she's over in Australia. So it's Tuesday morning. And we got Kathy Hanley Little here. Let's see who else we got. We got Connie Martin. Everybody saying hi to one another. Then my message, I don't usually post in the chat because it posts to everywhere where I am streaming, but I thought we might as well let them know we're coming. Let's see who else have we got here. Oh, Kathy Hanley Little. That's a good question. And we may get to that. It says, has any of you felt off the last couple of days? You guys have heard, they're coming actually on June the 2nd, Leanne Clark and Debbie Anderson, and I meet with them. We have a couple special people across the Vale that we connect with. And sometimes we're not the only ones. There's hundreds and thousands of people that do this. Sometimes they ask us to do energy work and all kinds of things. And we actually discuss this. So we may get to that in just a minute. Yes, Lorilei is late. I was late, Mish. Let's see.
Blame me.
Yeah, and Mish said, well, me too. And Mish says, very heavy life. Well, life almost sucks. Maybe we will talk about that a bit too then, because
it's relevant.
It's relevant, but it's also a lot of us that are sensitive and picking this up over the last couple of weeks too, realizing it is not ours, but maybe the collective. There's been a lot of physical symptoms I've been hearing from a lot of people that work in this field, and then I'll go down the list still to say hi here, but a lot of abdominal bloating, stomach upset, not being able to eat, all kinds of things. So it may be the end. And then I was talking to Carrie Lynn Shellhorn today. You guys know her. I always give her a shout out. Love her. Varla's joining her on Friday, actually.
So excited. Hi, Carrie Lynn.
She's got a Spirit Switchboard at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fridays. And we were talking about this, and Carrie Lynn was the one that told me today that the Schumann resonance has been all over the place. So that could be it. Well, you got a time change, Mish, on Sunday in Australia. Okay. Connie Martin says she's been feeling off. Oh, you're not working today, Mish. She says she just got housework. And let's see, going to head through here. Oh, Connie Martin says, my dreams have been crazy and all over the place, dreaming a lot. Kathy says she's off balance, mentally feeling drained. I have a feeling you may be picking up on the conscious collective, if you will, and the energy out there. But we can talk more about that in a bit. Okay, I asked this on Thursday night too. I asked, what's going on April the 5th? I was seeing that date everywhere and nothing happened. There was supposed to, I had seen a post.
There were massive protests in the U.S.
Oh, yes. David went all on about that because he's from the U.S. But this was globally. I was seeing this. And there was a woman, wasn't looking for it, came up in my feed. And she was calling on anybody that was aware of energy, did any type of healing work, any type of energy work, whatever it was, to send it out globally to the entire world and to send it for 24 hours. And I kept seeing this date coming up, but not just about the protests in the US. It was like all over the world, this date just kept popping up. So it was interesting. And Kathy Henry Little says, I think you're right. So, Connie feels like something big's about to happen. I do too. Does anybody have any idea? Well, we may talk about that. We'll see. So Julie Jean Bassett is here. I see her. I always have to give her a huge shout out. Oh, hang on. I almost deleted her. Julie is amazing. I took my animal communication course with her. If you guys are having,
I love her.
Yes. Because I tell people this, and I don't get paid for this. She's a friend of mine. I adore her. I took my animal communication course with her. She has helped me with some of my own animals, including my son's cat that they were joined at the hip. And after he passed, worked with her. If you've got an animal that is creating havoc in your home and you're at your wit's end, not sure what to do, reach out to Julie. She also can reach out to your animals that have crossed over the Rainbow Bridge. She also is an incredible human healer and medium, has shared a beautiful message, a couple actually, from my son Justin. She is a shamanic practitioner. I had a session with her. It's almost going on 8 months now. It was life-changing. And I plan on, as soon as I get to 100% healthy, I'm going to have another one. So you guys check her out at juliejeanbassett.com. You will not be sorry. Got Mark Foster here, says hello. Lisa Martinello, hello. Jackie Collins. I don't want to miss anybody. So if I did, just post down below. I could see, I told you we had a lot of comments. So welcome. So I love all your books. This is the book, you guys, Enchanted Plants, A Treasury of Botanical Folklore and Magic. It's just come out, right?
Yeah, like today's the official release date,
Okay.
April 7th. It has been available at some outlets prior to this, but today is the official release date. So yeah.
Let's talk about it, because when I've been showing this off, and I've showed it to physical people as well as when I've been on my shows, and people have said how beautiful the book is. But why would people want to buy this book? I know why, but I want people to hear from you why they should have this book and obviously get a copy of it.
Well, I'm a plant person, and I like books about plants. I like, anything from an herbal encyclopedia to, the botany of desire. So I kind of am one of those people that just consumes all plant books, gardening books, all plant books, pictures of beautiful gardens. And I love plant lore. I believe that every plant has a story. And so when I got the idea for this book, which was several years ago, I was reading, I don't know, like just as one does, occasionally revisits the Grimm's fairy tales. And I was reading in the Grimm's fairy tales, and I just kind of started paying attention to the plants that were mentioned. And sometimes it wasn't and it wasn't as clear what the plant was. There were sort of clues. Oh, it was a pale flower that bloomed or first thing in winter, and or first thing in spring, or before the vernal equinox. Oh, that's snowdrop. So kind of trying to there was a little mystery solving, and I thought, wouldn't it be cool to explore the plant kingdom, but to explore fairy tales and folklore, but through the lens of plants. And so I set out to find stories that we know and love, and some obscure stories where plants are central to the story. And not only are they central to the story, but without them, the story doesn't exist. And so that was sort of my criteria. Now, anyone who's studied plants knows that there's a backstory to the plant name, the attributes that it gives. So it was easy to find plants with stories, but to find stories with plants and then have those plants be significant was a bit heavier of an undertaking. So what I've done is I've created a book that takes you on a journey through different gardens. That's how I decided to organize it.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, so you start out in the Queen's Garden, and you're within the castle walls. You're walking among the cultivars. You've got your tulips and your roses and the things that were sort of prized and might be fit for a queen. And then once you've had your fill of that, you'll round the corner into the next chapter, and you'll go to the cottage garden. And that's the garden, the culinary garden, the herbal garden, the garden of ordinary foods that have extraordinary stories. Like there's a surprising number of fairy tales about cabbages.
You said that when you were writing this.
Yeah, I was shocked.
Okay, so I need to hear more about this. You guys, it comes with this beautiful marker ribbon.
Oh, yes, it has a ribbon.
It's gilded in gold.
Do you know where your ribbon landed? Because every ribbon lands somewhere different, it turns out.
Okay, where is mine?
Yeah, so where's your ribbon? It's got a little bibliomancy in it, a little enchanted.
Oh, okay. So mine is
enchantment.
The lore, it would be around, it's page 116, 117, right after henbane.
Okay, so you're in the henbane section. Okay, so pay special attention to whatever it says where your ribbon lies, because I think this book is telling people what they need to read first, and I find that very interesting. It's a little magic that was unplanned. Okay. So then you go from the cottage garden, and once, the sun sets, you can kind of sneak out under cover of night, and you can go to the poison garden, to the witch's garden. Ooh. And that's the garden full of medicine and magic. And when you've done all you can there, you get on your, trusty steed, and you gather your basket and you ride out to the Meadowlands. And then you venture into the forest, and from there you hit the sea or the lakeside. So I organized it as if you were going on a journey. The
Okay.
Plant Kingdom, you could organize a plant book in so many ways: alphabetical, encyclopedic. But this isn't an encyclopedia. This is every plant in the world. It's not even every plant I love. It's just plants that really fall within that category of being central to the story, and then having a story of their own. And so I've explored the medicine. I had a lot of fun digging into like medical studies and comparing that to the original folklore. So there's medicinal properties, magical properties, how you might use it in magic or ritual, and then the lore follows that. And I frequently I excerpted from some stories, but I also just retold a lot of fairy tales, which was a lot of fun for me to kind of just like as a creative writing exercise. And I tried to make it flow as best I could. And a lot of plants ended up on the cutting room floor for sure. As happens, because I did have this kind of stricter criteria. So it again, like every plant out there has a story behind it. These were just ones that I really spoke to me, and I felt like I could work with. So yeah, that's how it came about.
I hung on to this when it came, and I went through it, and I remembered that this was coming, this ribbon. So I'm so glad you shared that. I'm going to read some of the comments, because Mish says, book looks gorgeous. Julie Jean Bassett, love the cover of the book. It's gorgeous. Z Sun Dragon or Kevin says, awesome magic in your book. I love that. But I saved it because as I perused through it, and I know we talked a bit about the book the last time you were on, and I thought I had forgotten you had told me. I don't know if you told me on air or off air about how you were setting it up. And I thought, I'm not going to delve into it because I want to hear from out of your mouth how to go through the book, because as I was just perusing through here too, you've got a lot that starts off with the story about the lore. So
yeah. Well, so now I will say, yes, that is how I organized it. So reading from beginning to end, you'll go on that journey. But all of my books are the type of books that you can just read in little increments.
I know you can,
and you can read it you can just flip it open and be like, oh, lilies, I'll read about that. It's sort of like within the introductions that you get that. Hopefully it comes across that vibe of going on this journey.
I love it.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun organizing it like that, but also had to shift things around in that process, and actually created a whole other chapter, because originally some of the plants that were in the cottage garden were in different places.
That's what I was just going to ask you. I'm sure they could have fit under the same category. So how did you do that?
I just had the way that I actually wrote the book, which might sound like a nightmare to like an editor, but this is how I did it. I wrote it. Honestly, I had like 50 something different files of the plant.
Okay.
And and then I had a working table of contents and a working like way that I wanted to organize it. But each plant has the same formula. You'll get the common name, the botanical name, the magic, and the medicine. And then you then I sort of delve into the lore. And then, the thing is I put a lot of love and thought and magic into this book, and really have been researching it for a number of years. But the publisher, talk about feeling seen in the world. The care and the consideration that they put into this book, and the magic that they infused into it in the design, in the layout, the illustrations, everything that they did was so thoughtfully curated. So when there's the cabbage. So when I first got the book, I actually held it in my arms and I cried for a while. And then I couldn't even open it because I was just like, I can't read it. I can't read it yet. But the first thing I did is I cracked it open and I went to the acknowledgements page because that was the page that felt the most real to me. That is the page that, any kind of book is a collaboration. Mm-hmm. My words inspired this amazing creation that I now get to, say as my own. But the designer had so much to do with it. There was so much input from the publisher. Mike Conlin at Wiser Books is responsible. Him and Catherine Skypeck, they got me those gilded edges. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know about that until right after it had already gone to press.
I keep thinking about there are coincidences, but a couple of visits ago, that night we couldn't chit chat after. That's why we were a bit late, because I know Varla's super busy as well, and we got caught up a little bit, but you had to get offline with me because that was your deadline to submit by midnight.
Yeah, I remember that. And you know what? My last book was the same thing. Do you remember that? My fairy book.
Yeah.
I was like, my deadline is this date. I'm booked with Lorilei that night, and I'm going to just do it because I know that it'll either give me motivation to finish it, or it will give me a welcome break and some inspiration. And
this
so I did that with my last book, and then this book, the same deadline. So it's a thing, and it worked. I got off the phone with you, or off the interview with you, and I stayed up all night and I finished it, and I was very inspired to do so because I had this wonderful conversation with you about it.
I love everybody loves when you come on. I'm gonna say hi. I saw Ryan C. Jones on Instagram. I hope you're still there. They don't put the comments on Instagram in with the rest, so I gotta bounce. And normally I'm broadcasting on TikTok, but I love text, so I figured something out. I was only one in the network broadcasting. And I brought up a topic because I also follow a lot of pop culture, true crime. I try to have my finger in a lot of things because when
I know you're amazing. You're like the most amazing multitasker, and you just present this very serene front, and you're like, I've got 7 things going at once.
Yes. I think that
and I'm like, I can't even read the comments and talk at the same time.
I think it comes from being a nurse and a mom, right? Oh, yeah. And especially working in critical care, and the crazier it would get in the NICU, the calmer I would get. And I can remember many times people would say to me, how are you so calm? And I'd say, well, I don't feel calm, but I learned very early actually, I've never forgotten this. I'm turning 60 in August. So I was about 18 or 19. I was in third year.
August what?
15th.
Maybe that's when I'll drive up.
Yes, because we are going to meet. That's all Del kept talking about. Varla's still going to come. She's still going to come. And I said, well, if I don't.
Straight north for like 4 hours.
Yes, I know.
Through Border Patrol.
But we're going to. And when you do, we are going to have so much fun. Yeah, I was just telling Carrie Lynn, because she's coming back up to Thunder Bay. We met in person last year. For the same thing. I'm not a part of it this year, but I said it's still nice in October. So I would love for her to be able to go out to the camp too, or some people call it a cottage, but it's a house.
No, I know camp. I'm in Minnesota. I know
It's great. But I was saying to Carrie Lynn today, it is literally like going into a different dimension. Ooh. As you go down, there's a public beach. We're on this side where the internet isn't great at all, but we're talking about
getting great though.
I know there's people we can use if we want. Like
no, we don't. We don't need the internet.
You don't have time for it.
We'll release all the videos later.
Yes. So I said
maybe we don't want any footage of this.
No, what happens at camp stays at camp.
That's right. No baby sits in the sauna. We all know how that goes.
Well, the sauna is in a house by itself, but there's a bed in there. Like there have been, between family and everything, probably, I was just saying to Dal, I've been with him almost as long as I was married to my first husband. Like it's going on 16 years. Nice. Anyways, I know there have been, God, I probably want to say at least 12 of us, and all slept comfortably because it's like a house. It's 2 floors. There's 3 bedrooms upstairs. The couches all fold out in the living room. You can sleep on the couches in the basement. There's beds in the, and then there's all these decks all around. There's a big fire pit. I'm telling you.
Okay, and I'm there.
Yeah,
mentally, I'm already there.
I hope you come, because I am telling you, I can say this. Del always used to say to me, it was his Shangri-La. And he's already told me, when he's no longer here on the earth, that's where his ashes have to
Okay.
go. Even how he found it, for anybody, and then I'm going to get to Mish's question. Um, the boys were out. He's got two brothers and a bunch of guys. They were all water skiing on this lake, Oliver Lake. It is the deepest, freshest, cold water, I think, spring fed lake in Ontario, I want to say. And it's Oliver Lake. And it's very, very, very deep. Like, people do their scuba diving out there and probably still don't hit the bottom. And his parents have been looking for a place to buy some land to build a camp. At the time, the boys were all teenagers. And as Del tells it, they were water skiing. Somebody had a boat. And I don't know what happened, but he ended up falling off the skis. And he wears glasses too. So I don't know how he saw this. He just happened to look up and he saw right over on the shore this sign way back in the bushes. So he swam all the way there, saw the sign. The land was being sold. And that's how they got the camp.
Oh, wow. Magic.
I have seen his dad out there.
Can't wait to see it.
You won't believe it. I'm getting off track here, but you'll love it. So Mish, you said, where was your page maker? And she's asking you, Varla.
Oh, probably. Do you mean probably you mean my publisher?
It might be.
Yeah.
She'll clarify. I know she'll
clarify that. But if you mean my publisher is New Page, which is based in Newburyport, Massachusetts. And they are now part of my previous publisher, Wiser Books. Okay. So it's a lot of the same people. I've worked with them for years. I think that's why they really got the vision of the book and worked so hard to make it so beautiful.
All your books are beautiful, though. They have wonderful covers. Oh, she says, like the book marker, where was your page? Oh, maybe.
Oh, where was mine? Oh, yeah. Yes. Mine was on Datura, and it was on the main Datura page. So the thing is I got this advanced copy in January. So technically the book's a Capricorn, which I think is good for a book with gilded edges. You know, Capricorns are all about money. So I want the book to be a success, of course. But also about magic. And I got it, and the ribbon was on Datura, which is about midway in the book. So I opened it and I was like, oh, how cool that the ribbon falls on Datura. That's like one of my favorite plants, and it's just perfect.
People might not know what that is. Can you tell them a little bit?
Datura is a wonderful plant. It has it's in the witch's garden. It has many psychoactive properties as well as medicinal properties. And it gets this beautiful sort of moonflower-like flower. It's pollinated by night pollinators generally. Some Datura are pollinated by bats. It's indigenous to Central and South America and parts of North America as well, and is still used as medicine and used by shamans. The Chumash Indians in particular in Southern California use Datura regularly. It's part of their origin story. So it's a super, super magical plant, also known as, some people call it Jimson weed. And there's a hilarious story about the settlers at Jamestown who were picking it and eating it, and were actually having these like hallucinations from it. And there's even like this funny story that I found about like Abraham Lincoln saying you could keep that some people kept a few of the leaves in their pocket in case they got captured. If they wanted to just poison themselves. It's wild. It's in like this letter from Lincoln to someone else. But
she says they use it in Australia. I always read it out because it
is used as a hallucinogen. Yes, it is used as a hallucinogen. As with any hallucinogens, your intent is a huge part of it. So, going about it in the wrong way can result in a lot of like liver damage. But it is a magic and very sacred plant. And there's lots of interesting stories about it. So my bookmark was on Datura. So I was like, oh, great. I love Datura. That's why I put it in there. I love that image of it that's in the book. And then I got my box of books, my author advanced copies that came sort of like late March, a little bit ahead of everyone. And I I was taking some back to my family in California. And so I flipped the book open to like, I'm going to write my, little, hey mom, thanks for everything kind of thing in there. And I just kind of thumbed through it and I noticed that her ribbon was in a different place. And so then I took out another one and that ribbon was in a different place. And then I took out a third one and a fourth one and a fifth one. And of 5 books, that the ribbon didn't repeat. A couple of other people have had datura. So they do the ribbon does tend to be somewhere sort of in the middle. But then I gave one to my friend Pirate Chris, and his was on water lily.
Oh, wow.
So that's way toward the end of the book. Yeah. So all I can say is that I had nothing to do with it. And I don't know who had anything to do with that other than you will get your ribbon on the plant that you need. Mm-hmm. That's all I can think, because there's this like hidden message. There's an enchantment within the book. And I'm a lover of bibliomancy. Bibliomancy is the art of asking a question and just sort of flipping through a book until you land on a phrase or a passage. And so I can't believe my book has bibliomancy built into it. It's just so exciting. So if you do buy a book and you get it, take a picture, post it, tag me, or send it to me, because I want to know where people's ribbons are falling. I find it very interesting.
I knew to look for the ribbon because you had told me about that. So when it came, I looked for the ribbon. I didn't move it, but I looked for it because
you're selling henbane.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, which is one of the most powerful narcotics on earth.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mind you, you have told me, and I've told this story over the years, if I've been on podcasts, that you always pull, as you call, I call it tarot, you call it tarot card.
Yeah, I know, I say it different. Yeah.
How many times you have gotten the Empress card when you have pulled before a show doing the
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I pulled before the show.
Okay.
I got the sun, actually, was the card that I pulled for you, was the sun. Yeah. Okay. And then I've been getting a lot of swords lately and battle wands, but that's a personal, personal journey.
I was showing my really, I call her she is one of my BFFs, Leanne Clark, and she does Akashic Records like I do. We met years ago online, just like you and I did. And the first time we met, we'd known each other for years. I call her the Crystal Wizardress because she is so incredible. I love crystals.
Great title.
But her page is called The Crystal Architect. She is incredible. And I have the most profound conversations with her, but her and I are doing our first course together. We're going to be
fun.
We're hoping to build a community together. And also it's going to be a 1 time a week
fun
class and the whole bit. It was supposed to happen in March, but we didn't plan for things to happen the way they did, obviously.
Of course. Yeah.
And so it looks like it may be during the summer, or depending if there's too many people going away, maybe we will wait till September. But I will tell you,
perfect time. Fall is always the perfect time to do any kind of like witchy course.
I had a conversation with her. There's a reason why I brought this up, though. I had a conversation with her yesterday. This is the kind of things you guys can expect in the class. Leanne said to me, I have a question. She goes, because we were talking about the course, working a bit on it after a meeting yesterday. And she said, I have a question about prayer. And she said, what's your thoughts on if we're praying for somebody else that didn't ask us to pray for them? And are we trying to overwill or ask for something that maybe is not meant to come to them? We had the most profound, intriguing conversation about that. And it was fascinating. I said, we should have filmed this. We could have put this out there because it was really interesting and gave you a lot of food for thought. But the reason why is she loves tarot as well. Because we were talking about my strengths versus hers. And she says, well, there's things I don't know about. And I said, well, there's things I don't know about that you know about. And the beauty, I think, in being a good teacher is admitting if you don't know. But hang tight. We'll be back next week. We're going to do some research and we'll meet you online to talk about it.
Yeah.
I showed her this. This is that latest.
Oh, the Star Trek. Pull a card from the Star Trek tarot deck, please.
You want me to pull?
Yeah,
okay.
I've never
right used it yet. So give me a second.
You have it? Okay, so this is the beginning.
I have a supernatural deck because if anybody, beautiful ribbon in here, by the way, guys.
Oh, nice.
I have a supernatural deck that I love because
I pull from about 4 or 5 decks actually, like simultaneously usually. And I've been getting a lot. I mean, this has been happening for a good year at least, but I've been getting a lot of repeat. I keep getting the King of Pentacles.
Mhm.
So I don't know who you are, but my eye's on you.
He's coming. I am more comfortable with Oracle. I do know how to do Tarot, but she does. Like she has spent months on it and
The
studied.
thing about Tarot is all you have to do is look at the picture
Yeah, that's
and see
how
what
I.
the picture is telling you, and that demystifies everything. Forget all the things that you need to, like, memorize or anything like that. And there are, of course, certain archetypes that are really important,
Mhm.
but really ultimately, sorry, my alarm just went off.
Go ahead.
But really ultimately, you're looking at the picture. I've been teaching my son Tarot, and I just say, what do you see here? And some decks you can read and some decks you can't. That's just the way it goes.
Well, I was looking for it. It was my eldest son, Logan, and he does drag part-time. And he told me while we were still living at the haunted house that, Mom, they have a drag tarot deck. So guess who has
Oh
a drag?
yeah.
I have a drag
Okay,
tarot.
can I just tell you how much I love that entire sentence you just said? Like when we were still living at the haunted house, my son, he does part-time drag. Like that's just like the best sentence I've heard in
Yeah, I'm
years,
going to take from here
honestly.
because it popped out. So let's see
Okay.
what we pulled. I don't know. You can read it. Well, I think I got to look at the book because I'm used
Okay,
to
how many is that? Let's see.
nine.
Nine of discs.
Looks like bars of gold to me.
It's probably the 9 of discs or the 9 of pentacles.
Oh, look it up here. Hang on.
Yeah, I bet that's the 9 of pentacles.
Let us look it up. I need my glasses again, which are clean. Oh, Mish is loving the deck. She goes, I have a Star Trek lanyard. Hang on. I got to look it up in here, guys. I literally have not looked at it.
Okay, I'm just going to say, I think if it is the 9 of pentacles, the 9 of pentacles is a card of abundance, but it's sometimes abundance that you need to harvest.
Okay,
that is growing around you.
It came out this way. I was picking it up. Okay, so what the minor, so it would be the suit of cloaks, suit of latinum, suit of batleths, and suit of starships. Why do I feel like
Oh
that?
my goodness. Well, it's bars of gold, so it has to be pentacles. It has to be, because that's coins. That's the earth and the money.
I'm looking on
Bars of gold. 9 bars of
they go
gold.
by color. I found it. Okay. Yeah. Okay, the 9
The
of
9 of
platinum.
okay.
Upright, which we got. You have the lobes for business. Your profit margins have soared. You were right about money. You said that yourself with the gold.
Abundance,
And
yeah.
I felt the same too. Your profit margins have soared due to your hard work and diligence. Know that the stability is a direct result of your dedication. Take the time to celebrate your newfound success. Perhaps even take a trip to Risa. I don't know how we're going to get there, but you earned it. I'm taking
somewhere. How about to the cabin?
I was just going to say that. Take a trip. So if this
Yeah.
resonates with anybody, it was meant for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Abundance and appreciating the gifts that you've cultivated.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Plus, I also agree with you about abundance that we could work on to manifest as well. Because a lot of us don't. I took a free masterclass. I was talking a bit about it on Thursday's show, that somebody had done a free masterclass. Her name is Fleur Lesink. She calls herself one of the Hollywood mediums. She now lives in Germany. But it was a free masterclass that popped up, and she was talking about intuition. And I thought, I want to hear what you have to say about intuition. And it was quite powerful, including her mirror meditation. Basically, very quickly had you get super comfy. Instead of the usual take a deep breath, hold for 4, release for 4, blah, blah, blah. She just said, I just want you to focus on breathing. Take the deepest and biggest breath that you've taken today. Then she had you focus on someone you love.
Oh.
Whether it's a partner, a child, a pet, anybody that you love. And then start focusing that love coming from your heart, radiating all through your body and outward as far as you can project it. See it, feel it, imagine it. She said, as you're doing that, I want you to see a giant mirror drop right down in front of that. And all that love that you are now radiating is radiating back to you.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That was powerful.
I
Powerful.
love that. Hey, I've got two girlfriends coming over on Friday,
Yes.
and I already decided we were going to do a self-love ritual, so we'll incorporate that.
Please do. It's not mine. I've told people I'm not taking credit for it. But it was very
That's beautiful.
interesting too, because she teaches people, she doesn't necessarily teach intuition to people to become psychic mediums. But she believes, as I do, and I know you probably most likely do too, that every human being is intuitive.
Mm,
But she teaches you, to me, it was mind, body, and soul bringing it together. That's not how she said it. But it was about teaching people to tell the difference between your intuition, yourself, and whether it's anxiety, where
fears.
you, yeah, where you feel it, no, but where you
Mhm.
feel it and how you can tell the difference and identify it.
Mhm. Oh,
And
I love that, and just that idea is so powerful because for many of us, it's so much easier to give love away than it is to receive it or give it to ourselves,
yep,
and so that's a wonderful practice because we are all deserving of that level of love for ourselves and for others. So, very
but it's
powerful
hard,
ritual.
right? Because even though we know this, and we can
It's hard to
sometimes
practice it. Yeah.
so to feel that come back at you, I had never done that before.
Mm,
And it was really powerful. And every single person that was in that chat, like typing, same thing. And I
mm.
thought, what a powerful, quick,
How cool.
easy exercise to do that,
Mhm.
like you said, you could do this with your girlfriends on Friday night.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
actually, Friday day, because Friday night I'll be on with Carrie Lynn.
Oh, right. I
Yeah.
forgot. Yes, with Carrie Lynn.
So
So
hopefully I'll be radiant that night. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, because we talked a little bit about this. I have known you from the day I've met you, that you have always loved botanics and worked with the magic of plants and
Mhm.
such. I will tell you also, I'm getting more and more people. I don't have a problem with it, but for some reason, they believe I'm a witch. And I know many times you
Oh,
blinked at me and
you
said,
say
sure, you're
you
not a
say
witch.
I'm a witch like it's a bad thing.
It's not.
Hey, if you need to put a label on it, put a
Mhm,
label on it.
mhm,
I'm not
mhm.
gonna have a problem with that.
Yeah. I was going to say, though, you mentioned about cabbages, because I also want to
Oh yeah.
ask you about the zine too, but the
Yeah, yeah.
cabbages. Why don't we see cabbages come up so
Cabbages.
many
So,
times?
you know what was so remarkable to me? So, frequently we there are many plants that appear in books that have this sort of transformative property. Apples are a great example. Apples have this like you take a bite and you could be immortal. They can like
Poison you.
transform. They can poison you. They can put you into a coma. There's just like so many plants that we kind of associate with that. And of course, when you get in the witch's garden, it's like all of that stuff can knock you out if you. But cabbages, they're seemingly innocent. But I found so many stories about transformative cabbages, where enchanted cabbages, where some wanderer is heading down a lane and he reaches into this garden, doesn't realize it's a witch's garden, takes a cabbage, doesn't realize it's an enchanted cabbage, eats it hungrily, and all of a sudden he's a donkey. And then he eats a little more of it, and then he eats a horse, and then he eats a little more of it, and then he's transformed back. So it was just like, and then there's this marvelous story that is essentially like the Jack and the Beanstalk story.
Mhm.
And I think of it a little bit like, so Brussels sprouts
Yeah.
and cabbages, they're cruciferous vegetables and they're in the same plant family. Like they're very, very closely related.
Mhm.
So this story it's actually quite gruesome, but it's the
Okay.
story of this little old lady and this little old man. And I know we're on YouTube. I'm not swearing,
Okay.
okay? But what happens is in their house, they take the ashes out of the fire and they put it in an ash hole in
Okay.
their
Well, you could
in
say
their
that,
house,
but it
like
would be
in it's
an
in the ash
ash.
hole. And out of this ash hole sprouts this cabbage plant. Now, I know as a gardener that people frequently use ash from
Mhm.
their fire to
Yeah.
keep certain, cabbages and cruciferous vegetables are very prone to a lot of
Aphids, my
aphids and
mites.
bugs
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
mites and all kinds of things that just love to devour them. So the ash kind of keeps that at bay. So they plant in this ash hole, and out of this ash hole sprouts this glorious stalk of cabbage. And basically it's a Jack and the Beanstalk story where this little old man, he's like, okay, he gets his wife to start climbing up it, right?
No, you go first to see if
yeah,
it's
you go first. Well, she falls and she dies.
Oh,
okay. And he puts her body in a bag, and then he starts to climb up the thing with his wife's like bones in a bag, and then he drops it, and just all kinds of like weird chaos ensues after that. There's really not a great moral with this story. It doesn't really go anywhere dramatic. It's just this really bizarre story, and cabbages are central to it. And I it just kept happening. Cabbages called for their own section. I originally had a whole like leafy green section. I was just going to do like salad greens or whatever. And cabbages wouldn't have it. They just would not have it. They were like, nope, we have our own story to tell. So yeah, they have their own section. And actually the illustration that you showed, it's a remarkably beautiful illustration of a cabbage. And a cabbage can be kind of divisive. Some people love it, some people hate it.
Right.
But it has its place. And also it has tons of medicinal proprietors. I remember
because I'm into plant medicine.
Yeah, you can place cabbage leaves on your breasts if you have mastitis. You can place it on a wound.
Your milk is coming in. When you have that,
and you can also place it on a wound, and it helps to staunch the bleeding. It can withdraw some of the toxins. It's also used as a detox internally to help your body detox. So, and there we have it. She's showing the beautiful. You never saw a cabbage so beautiful as this cabbage in my book.
Actually, this is a beautiful illustration.
It is a beautiful illustration of a cabbage. It looks, it looks like it's from like an old Peter Rabbit, an old Beatrix Potter or something. It's quite gorgeous.
So I'm going to say hi to Joanna Garfield McNally. Hi, Joanna. She popped in. Joanna, I got your message. Just, you know what? Today's a show day. So show days are crazy days after the weekend. Because what I've been doing last week, I did it all week to try and get healthy. I even laid down all week and watched absolutely mindless stuff to try and kick this stupid flu in the butt. Hopefully it's finally on its way. But I take the weekends off from, if I can, I really try to take the weekend off from the internet.
Yeah.
Try not to answer messages. I mean, if there's somebody that needs to book something or whatever, I will. But otherwise, I stay away from it. And usually by Tuesday, I get caught up. So I'm glad you popped in. But this is interesting.
Only Monday.
Yeah. Connie, this is interesting that you mentioned this. Sherry, if there's a Sherry here that I miss, I see Kevin, you saying hi to Sherry. For some reason, I'm not seeing her. So Sherry, I'm not ignoring you. I apologize, but hi and welcome. So Connie says Cabbage Patch Kids were magical back in the day. And while you were saying that, that's all I was feeling and hearing. So I must have picked it up from you, Connie.
Yeah.
I had one.
The magical babies in the Cabbage Patch. Yeah. Yeah. And they're like, I think a couple other things I talked about in the book were like, it's a compliment to say like that you were, I can't remember the phrase. It's like you were fresh out of the Cabbage Patch, meaning that you had like the face like a baby, which is I think where they came up with. Yeah. And then here's the medicinal properties of cabbage, right? Okay. An anti-inflammatory, cabbage has fiber, potassium, and vitamin C and K. It lowers blood pressure.
Okay.
Topically, it can treat a wide variety of ailments, including bruises and sprains. An old remedy suggests laying cabbage leaves in the case of clogged milk ducts and a nursing mother.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Working magical properties. Prosperity, prophecy, blessings, fertility. Bring a fresh cabbage plant to a new home as a blessing, and to bring prosperity in the home and garden. Oh, wow. In Scotland and parts of Ireland, cabbages are used as means of divination on a Halloween night. Pull the plant from the ground, and the roots will tell you the type of partner you will have.
Wow.
The connection with cabbage and fertility may stem from the old saying, the baby is in the cabbage patch, or found in a cabbage patch, as a term of endearment, saying that someone is sweet-faced, affectionate, perhaps, but in an indication that cabbages were associated with fertility and abundance, like the cabbage that will grow just about anywhere. Yes. Cabbage stalks were also used for light and fairy magic.
I did not know that. I can't get it out of my head. Spirit's been really loud this week. So I do speak.
Maybe you need to eat some cabbage detox. You need to detox your
I haven't been eating. Even my neighbor noticed I've lost weight. I needed to anyways, but not the way I have been. So I'm trying to eat more vegetables actually. Then Del was
cabbage
joking.
soup.
Well,
You need cabbage
Del
soup.
makes borscht, which is
Ooh, I
amazing.
love borscht.
He'll make it when
Good.
you
He
come.
can make me
Yeah.
borscht.
Mhm,
That's one of
mhm.
my favorite things on earth. Yeah,
He
that's
makes
lovely.
you know what? I can cook and I don't mind cooking, but Del has his chef's papers. So when he takes over
Oh,
in the kitchen,
gorgeous.
my mama didn't raise no fool. I got no problem. Here you
I
go.
hate cooking, so yeah.
And he is a good cook. But what I can't get out of my head, because I used to speak French like English as well as Spanish. Now it's been years. I can't practice, but I usually say I don't drink very often. If I had a glass of wine, I could be perfectly quite fine. And
Yeah, I'm fluent in just about everything with a glass of wine.
yes, but the reason I bring it up that I can't stop hearing, I know in French it's ma petit chou, and that's a real term of endearment. I've heard it used with children. It means my little cabbage.
My little cabbage. Oh,
Mhm.
that's darling, ma petite
Mhm.
chou. Oh, I love that.
And I kept hearing that from Spirit, and it was going on and on and on. And same thing about the Cabbage Patch Dolls. I was thinking that when Julie wrote, or not Julie, sorry, Connie wrote that down. So, oh wait, okay. So
And it
how
really does grow in like all kinds of soil. And you know, the Findhorn community in Scotland, one of the things that happened in that community, and I talk about this a bit in the book, some of the magic of Findhorn was that instead of gardening just by, you know, the seasons, they chose to garden by the elementals and actually making offerings to the land and to the spirits of the land, the fairy spirits. And as a result, they ended up being able to grow like these enormous cabbages, like
wow.
wildly large, like the ground just became enchanted because of all of the intent that was put into it. Plus, you know, all of Scotland is basically
Well, Dal
enchanted.
does
So
gardening with my back, right? And so I've already talked because we lost a neighbor 2 doors down just before Christmas. They loved my son. We loved them. And I have decided I always put a fairy garden in, and I've asked with their blessing, I am going to dedicate a part of the garden. I don't know what I'm putting in there just yet. I actually found these bricks that are so gorgeous that you can paint with the person you love's favorite book on there. So I may do that, but I'm going to put a remembrance in the garden. But we've never planted cabbage. I think I'm going to ask Del to plant cabbage.
you can plant it. It's an early and late season vegetable. It likes it a little cool. So it can be something that you plant. I mean, I don't know, you're a little further north than me, but I generally don't plant until after Mother's Day. Like Memorial
Neither
Day
do
weekend is when it's really safe to put things in the ground. But cabbage can go in a little earlier, and cabbage and kale, and it can be early season. And then you can also do a later season crop, like you hit September and it can kind of be harvested into October before it gets too cold. It can tolerate
I'm going to ask
cold.
him to do that because then we'll have some for borscht when you come up.
Yeah, it's perfect.
So Howie is here. Howie, I always give him a shout out. He's got the Riff Nation Network, and he is a big supporter of UPRN. I should do our station.
I recognize his name. Yeah.
I always forget to do it. So you guys, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Angel Rock live with the amazing Varla Ventura. We're discussing her brand new book, Enchanted Plants. And I should add the other part, a treasury of botanical, folklore, and magic. It's incredible. We are going to get to the e-zine in just a minute. But Howie has the Orion effect. Ryan, my brain just went blank. Howie, please put it in the chat for me. But David
Howie.
on there a couple times Sunday nights, 7 p.m. His amazing co-host, who's a friend of mine as well, Rhonda Harris. So he said, evening all, hello, hello. Sometimes he goes by Ed Odell on Facebook because somebody took his Facebook account. So he's Howie on YouTube or Ed on Facebook. So you may recognize the name. So what he's asking is, does it matter about the cabbage, whether it's cooked or raw?
Oh, I think you can eat it both ways. I like cabbage with like a little vinegar and salt and pepper. I think it's delicious like that.
And a little bit of butter sometimes too.
Yeah, it's delicious, but you can also cook it. I think when you cook it, you get probably some of the like if you're cooking it and then in taking the broth, you're going to get the like with any plant or vegetable that you eat, you're basically making kind of a tea of it. but a lot, I think, because it's a little bit more of a waxy food, like steaming it just lightly releases a lot of the vitamins that are in it. There are just some plants that are like that.
Thank you, Howie. I did say it right. I don't know why I was questioning myself. His show's called The Orion Effect. I
Orion
started to say
effect.
that, and all of a sudden I went, no, I know the name of his show. I say it every week. So Mish likes to fry it.
Yeah, fried cabbage. Yes. Yes, please.
So with onion, she said. Now, the
Yep.
reason why I've tried cabbage with exactly how we have been talking about it, but I do not like what it's made with after, is cabbage rolls. That is a real Ukrainian thing.
Yeah, cabbage rolls are
Polish
delicious.
too.
You know, when I was a kid, I used to actually take cabbage,
Mhm.
put oil and vinegar, salt and pepper on it, and put it between two slices of bread and just eat a cabbage sandwich.
I've never tried that. I bet you it may be good.
I don't know if I can eat it now. It's just, I remember as a teenager, it just sounded so good to me. So
Mhm.
I
Well,
don't know.
Howie says, yes, I only eat it as a stir fry and love it raw with seasoning salt.
Yeah, you just don't want to overcook it, right? Because you overcook it and it gets kind of like limp and then it's a little bit slimy and yeah, not so good.
Oh, okay. So Connie says, and she's in I think Southern Ontario. She says, we make them a lot, meaning cabbage
Oh,
rolls.
cabbage rolls.
My
Yeah, yeah,
hubby is Polish. And
yeah. Yummy.
stuffed cabbage. Yes, that's what it
Yeah,
is.
stuffed cabbage, and you steam them. You steam them a little bit so that you can roll them. Yeah, and then you fill them with all kinds of delicious goodness.
Well, Dell is Cree, First Nation, and Ukrainian. So
Wow.
that's
No
called
wonder
me.
he's so cool.
Well, I just found out myself. I had always thought I was one level below Métis. So Métis is First Nation and another nationality. Well, my eldest son Logan works with Two Spirit First Nation adolescents and First Nations women. And I did not know this till he did this. He and my brother's second oldest son tracked the lineage on my mother's side where we think it had come from. Apparently, there were a lot of First Nation women that married the quote unquote white man. And when they did, they lost their status. So he
Mm.
has now tracked us. We are Métis. So
Oh,
apparently I'm Métis too. French,
yeah.
English, and probably.
I actually was in Fargo this last summer, and there was this I went to this museum there. Can't remember the name of it, but it's the one that has like the Viking ship replica that the guy sailed all the way out through New York to. I think he sailed it to like, I don't remember if he sailed it all the way to past. I think he went past Scotland actually. Anyway, so we were checking that out, and they had this wonderful exhibit, and it talked all about Métis, and because Fargo is pretty far north, and so these borders are imposed by the colonies, like the government imposed these borders.
Mhm.
These borders don't represent the original territories at all, or the
Absolutely.
lineage in any way. So yeah,
Mhm.
it was really really interesting to read about that. And actually, I just read I'll tell you about it later, but I read a fascinating book that I think you would really enjoy.
Oh, good. I'll have to
It's
check
kind of about that topic.
Okay, this just came to my mind. So with watching, and I'm not calling it mindless, but I don't usually sit and just watch something. Mind you, Dell's actually shared a new TV show, and I'm actually very much surprised by it with Kevin Bacon. It is called, hang on, I got to grab it here. It is called, sorry, forgive me, guys. My memory's coming back. I lost that after Justin for some reason. I have an incredible.
That's really, really normal. Grief totally wipes your memory out. It's your body, it's your mind's way of being able to process and move forward without having to remember everything, because otherwise you're just reliving your trauma
Mhm.
constantly. So
Yeah. Oh,
that's
you already
very
figured
normal.
it out,
Yeah.
Connie. You did. I don't know who put it in here. She just said it. The Bondsman. She already figured it out.
Oh, okay.
It's got
A good new
demons,
show.
and it goes through every different type of demon. What happened was,
Ooh.
basically, without giving the premise away, Kevin Bacon is a bondsman and learned it from his mother. And him and his wife are divorced. He's got a teenage son. They were going to be musicians. And you kind of, as you go deeper into the story, you find out more about the story. Well, in the first episode, he's going after someone, and it's kind of brilliant how he does as a bondsman, but he didn't see the guy behind him, and they went across the throat, and he died. Next thing you know, he's back, but he had been to hell, and he is now hell's bondsman.
Oh, I love that premise.
Stop the apocalypse. Lilith shows up towards
Oh, this is great. Okay, so Kevin Bacon is kind of a magical person. Like, the whole like 6 degrees of separation, right? Like
Mhm.
everyone's so only 6 degrees
Yeah.
separated from Kevin Bacon. This is like a pop culture phenomenon. So you
Mhm.
can like figure out how you're so and so and so and so and so and so, and you'll be 6 degrees of
Yeah.
separation from Kevin Bacon. It was like a whole thing, right? Like
Mhm.
I feel like in the 2000s, it was like everywhere. Six
Yes.
degrees of separation from Kevin
I couldn't
Bacon.
get into it though because I came in about 3/4 of the way through the first episode because Della texted me. He said, I think you'll like the show. And so I said, you know what? You just do what you got to do. I have learned from a true crime thing, I get twice as much done. Turning it on to 2 times speed takes a bit of getting used to, but you get twice as much done, whether it's research, whatever it is. So I got caught up very quickly and beyond. And I was really hoping the second season was there and it wasn't yet. But all that being said, I kept hearing about this White Lotus series.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, it's so funny. Okay. So I was on Coast to Coast Saturday
Okay.
night,
Hmm.
and I was supposed to come on for the 2 hours, the second 2 hours.
Hmm.
Um, and so I get the call from, they always call and
Yeah.
say, okay, do you have everything in order? Here's the link. If you're going to do Zoom, here's the call. And she says, well, you're going to
Oh,
be
because
on.
the series ending for season 3 of White Lotus was
She goes, you're going to be on, but one of the actors from White Lotus is coming on at the top of the hour. So I'm not sure what time you're going to, so just go in the waiting room and we'll let you in when your time is. And it was one of the actors, I don't remember the names. It was just funny that you bring that up because, yeah, it's really buzzing. And then this
Well,
person
that's what
just
I was going to ask you. Did lotuses or white lotuses come up in your book?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I have them. I have them in my book.
Mhm.
I have it under water lily. Got some fascinating stories about the history of the water lily, including this amazing controversy.
Mhm.
So, one of the biggest water lilies in the world is Victoria Amazonica,
Ooh.
and it's massive. Like it's the one that you see pictures of like a child sitting on top of it
Yeah.
and it's supporting its
Yeah.
weight. And a lot of conservatories have them. Gorgeous, gorgeous thing. The flowers aren't really enormous. The flowers are slightly bigger than your average water lily, which is a different family, but it's,
Right.
they're all not a different family, a different species within the same family. So the story is that the Victoria Amazonica was quote unquote discovered, right? It had been existing in the Amazon basin for time immemorial. And the Taino people had a very specific story about this lily, um, about it actually having to do with the moon goddess and this
Okay.
beautiful princess who fell in the water. And that was her, they transformed her into a lily. So anyway, so they quote unquote discover this, right? And they bring it back to Kew Gardens and they declare that it's going to be called Victoria Regina, the
Okay.
royal queen, right? It's
Okay.
named after her because it's this rare flower. It only blooms every few years. It's this most beautiful, exquisite flower. Well, someone else had already harvested this thing, brought it
Okay.
back, and entered it into the taxonomic record. And they entered it as a Uriel, which is named after one of the like Gorgon, like,
Archangels. And one
yeah,
of the archangels. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah. So, and I think also a Gorgon type creature in Greek myths.
Isn't that funny? You got an
Yeah.
archangel named Uriel and then a creature.
Yeah, I don't know if it's spelled the same, but it's the same pronunciation, right?
Hmm.
Or I mean,
Yeah.
maybe I'm saying it wrong. So
You're
anyway,
probably right.
they bring it back, and then basically this whole controversy ensues, where this person who originally found it and entered it into the taxonomic record declared it was in the Uriel family, and it was called Uriel. I can't remember what. And then this other person was like, "Oh no, it's Victoria Regina." And so I think it was Uriel Amazonica.
Mhm.
And so there's this back and forth, this secret back and forth, because you mustn't, under any circumstances, offend the queen, especially Queen Victoria, right? She was very influential. So this controversy kind of goes on, and they're saying, but it's already entered in the record. You can't just change the record, which the botanical records do change. People like are able to reclassify things. It happens all the time. Happened with a species of Datura, which is now Brugmansia. And I
Okay.
grew up knowing it was Datura. But in any case, so they agree. What they will call it instead is a hybrid. It will no longer be a Uriel. It will be a Victoria. and but instead of Victoria Regina, it'll be Victoria Amazonica. But then some people thought, well, we can't tell the queen it's named after Victoria Amazonica. We can't associate the queen with the wild Amazon.
Amazons.
Far too primitive, right? So they agreed that they would call it Victoria Amazonica, or they would call it Victoria Regina until the queen passed.
Right. Okay.
Thereafter, it would be known as Victoria Amazonica, as it has been ever since. Isn't that wild? What a insane thing to, but it reminds you of Alice in Wonderland, right? It was like, don't offend the queen.
That's what I kept hearing while you were telling that story, literally off with their heads.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's in the book too. That story is in the book as well, the off with their heads, because I had an epiphany on the Culloden battlefield in Scotland. I was there with my best friend, Elizabeth, and she and I, ironically, Elizabeth, and she and I were kind of just walking around, and then we had kind of joined this tour, and she was showing us this croft, and it's a replica of a croft, which is a little cottage. And she was saying that after the Jacobite uprising and the mass slaughter at Culloden, being a Jacobite, like basically the redcoats were hunting them, were like seeking them out. And so they would ask a question. They would say, "Are you a gardener?" And I was like, raising my hand, like, wait, what do you mean? Why did they ask him if they were a gardener? And she said, well, part of the reason is because everyone had a cottage garden. So the answer to that was inevitably yes. And so as soon as you said yes, they would kill you, basically, because you were a traitor.
You were going to say that,
yeah. Okay. But I don't actually think that's entirely true. What I think it meant, the white rose is the symbol of the Jacobites. And so what they would do in secret is they would plant a white rose. And so the white rose would say, hey, we are Jacobite supporters. It's okay for you to stop here for the night. We will protect you. And so I'm sitting there and I'm talking to my friend about this. And then I look at her and she looks at me and I said, painting the roses red. Now, Lewis Carroll was Victorian era, right? So he was the mid 1850s when he wrote that book. The Jacobite uprising was in the late 1600s. So that period of time, however, Culloden battlefield as a sort of preserved park happened during the Victorian era. That's when they put all the stones in place, marking the clans, kind of put this big sort of cairn in place as a memorial. And so this would have absolutely been in Lewis Carroll's lexicon as a British citizen. And in addition, there's lots of theories. Alice in Wonderland is probably the most picked apart book on earth. There's lots of theories that it sort of, representing the tyranny. Henry VIII was the one who was off with their heads with every woman he got tired of, right? So there's this longstanding reputation. But painting the roses red was the symbol of the crown. They were the redcoats. If you wanted to hide that you were a Jacobite and not be killed, you would paint your roses red, but you actually wouldn't literally do. So that's my theory. It's my original theory that I came to on the Culloden battlefield. It's in my book, and I could be completely off, but I think I found some supporting evidence. And I just come on, it came to me on the battlefield. I feel that it's correct.
Yeah, it really resonates. And I'm just fascinated now while you were talking. I said, Spirit's really loud tonight. I keep hearing too about rose lines over in Europe, and particular with that. Did you run into that at all? I know it came up in the Da Vinci Code, but I know it's also part of history a bit too. And I think if I remember correctly, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, it has to do with, my mind just went blank, the church guys that got all the money.
Catholics?
Not Catholics. No, they ran them off they were kind of the defender of the Catholic Church, and then they got too much money, and it's going to come to me as I'm talking. It's not the Rosicrucians. It started with a P.
Oh, but the Rosicrucians, that is, the rose is at the center of their deal.
Yeah, they wore the tunics with the red cross. I know this. I've said it a gazillion times. The name is, I told you, my memory's starting to come back. Knights Templar. Thank you, Heather.
Knights Templar. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, the Knights Templar. And I always, when I didn't dig because I looked up some of the things years ago with the Da Vinci Code, and I wanted to see where did he get this concept from?
Yeah.
Where were some of the history and stuff? And there is apparently in Scotland, particularly, they refer to things called a rose line, and it follows the one of the ley lines or plots or something.
Oh, I've not heard of that. I will have to look into that.
Mm-hmm.
I know that like there's the Tudor rose, there's like all of these roses that are associated with specific families.
Mm-hmm.
But wow,
And
I
I
don't
said it
know about a
started with
rose
the P.
line.
I was way off. Knights Templar, that's what it was.
Yeah, the Knights Templar. Yeah,
You
I
know,
don't know.
sometimes I find weird stuff, like when we've talked about, say, gnomes and fairies, and then I've sent you all the video clips that I've run across. And yes, and Kathy says the same thing. She goes, yes, Lorilei. So Kathy says, obviously, she's heard of this too. There's something to do with a rose line, and he had pulled it into the Da Vinci Code as part of the story.
Okay.
It has to do with something directional, and I'm not sure. I want to see even with Mary Magdalene or too. Like it goes back that far. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's funny. Today I was walking around a cemetery, as one does,
As
sort
one
of,
does.
just visiting, saying hello.
Mm-hmm.
And I was remembering that my friend, who's an archaeologist, was telling me about this whole society of people that preserve roses, like specific varieties of roses that were planted on graves. And that these heirloom varieties that grow in cemeteries across the United States and probably also in Canada, and I'm sure in other places, but that once upon a time they had very like specific symbolic meaning beyond, of course, you plant a white rose on like a young woman's grave. And then just kind of like this connection between just cultivating something that is sort of forgotten knowledge. Yeah. So
Okay, so everybody's
I've never heard a ley line called a rose line. I've actually never heard that.
That's what.
So
yeah,
that's
there's something to do with it, and people are commenting. So
yeah, okay. I mean, I know all about ley lines, but I've never heard them called a rose line.
It
So
has
that's
to do
amazing.
with the Celtic. I think mostly Scotland. I looked a bit into it. I didn't get really deep into it. I was in my old.
Oh, I'm going to dive into this. This is fascinating. Yeah,
so Kevin says Epiphany on the battlefield. Heather's adding it's the bloodline of Jesus Christ.
Oh, that's probably why I haven't heard of it.
Really go down a rabbit hole with that.
I know. I was on. I think it was on Coast to Coast. He asked me. It was like the original Apple story he wanted to talk about was the the Garden of Eden, and I was like, all right. First of all, let's set the record straight. Okay. First of all, let's go back Norse, Idun. Let's go back Aphrodite, and then also that apple was not poison. The apple in the Garden of Eden was not a poison apple.
Okay, so and what is your theory relate to that? And I'm not questioning you. I'm curious. Like, what does that mean?
So I think it's a significant fruit, right? And my theory is that it was used as a way to blame Eve. That's actually what I really think. And that the apple was just symbolic because the apple is actually associated with like the divine feminine and always has been. It's sacred to Aphrodite, it's sacred to Venus, it's sacred to Idun, and it actually holds the secret to immortality. So I think there's a little demonizing witcher, like calling a woman a witch in that situation. And I think that's where a lot of our problems started. If we had a different view on Eve, at least in modern times, I think we'd have a different narrative now to this day. A lot of wars were waged, and property was stolen, and people were killed on the guise that Eve was the original sinner, right?
Oh yeah, that would be a whole different show. You know
that is a whole different show. That's just a show about apples.
Yes, we've got about 20 minutes because I want to get into the zine.
Oh yeah,
also, I'm going to show this, you guys. I broke down and we have a spirit box.
Oh, so you bought one.
We're going to pull it out, I think, Thursday night because I did this about a year ago. Not with mine. It was a friend of mine that had one. And I found that a lot of people that are sort of more in, it's not my term, I don't like to use it, but people recognize that the light worker community had no idea that there are devices that will allow you to connect with people on the other side in real time. And people got some incredible messages from loved ones, and it was quite powerful. So
Please bring that to the cabin.
Yes, yes. And then I brought
a lot of candles.
Well, David and I bought a couple apps, and they're okay, but it was on sale, and I said, I'm gonna do it. You know what Del said to
myself.
Me? Well, Del says to me, why? And I said, because it will come in handy soon, I'm sure.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So let's get into this, because I'm glad I've talked to, I mean, Carrie Lynn and I are very good friends. And I was talking to her, and she brought up about this. I'm going to read it properly. It's the Shadow, of course.
Shadow Zine.
Thank you. Shadow Zine. And she's telling me all about this. I'm going, how did I not know this? So
it just came out. It literally just came out like 2 days ago.
Talk about it. No,
it came out the beginning of April. So
okay.
you're okay. So this is Jeff Belanger.
I have not gotten a hold of him, and I need to. You guys, if you don't know who he is so phenomenal, an author. We've talked about him. He's a good friend of yours. And when I went to the conference last year that was here in the city, I walked up to him and I said, we have a mutual friend. And so as I said your name, he got this super big smile. He goes, come here. And he pulls his camera out, snaps us, and sends it to you. And
he sent me a picture. Yeah, I was so jealous. What happened for you?
But we're going to do that this summer anyways. But go ahead. Tell us all about
We'll send him a picture.
Yes.
Okay, so Jeff Belanger, actually, he called me like, I feel like it was, like 3 months ago or something like that, maybe 4 months ago. And he said, I have this idea. I want to start a zine. And I was like, cool. What kind of zine? Like, what do you mean? Now, for anyone who doesn't know what a zine is, it's short for magazine, but it's a self-published DIY. It was very popular in the 80s and the 90s, and it's a way to publish material that you don't have to worry about the gatekeepers.
Gavin Davies,
everything you want.
Gavin Davies had one called the Paranormal Chronicles. I have my first published article in it. And at that time, I pulled in quite a few friends. This was years ago, and they had written for it. So it's so cool, and I'm glad he's starting it. So I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, not at all. So he started it. It started in January. Issue number 1 was he wrote the first one. That's all about the Bridgewater Triangle. Ooh. Freaking awesome. So
I told you before we went on, I'm going to buy them. I'm ordering them.
So each zine, each issue of Shadow Zine is a deep dive into one specific subject. So the first one was the Bridgewater Triangle by Jeff. The second one is all about Cornwall and sort of the magic. Do I have it here? I might have it here. Give me a sec. I think I've got it right over. Is it here? Nope. Okay. I don't have it. Oh, I have it right here. Okay. So the second one is by Richard Estep, who's an amazing writer and incredibly prolific. And his is The Ghosts and Monsters of Cornwall. Right. So this is like, it's got mermaids, pixies. It's got everything. It's got ghosts, haunted places. It's amazing. Beautifully written. I think he wrote it in Cornwall while he was there. There's Jeff's Mysteries of the Bridgewater Triangle. And so my issue is issue number 3. And mine is Mark Twain's Ouija Mystery. And so this is all about the woman named Emily Grant Hutchings. And
Look, saying hi.
Hi, Del. Love you.
Love you. Yes, I know. I'm glad you tuned in. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
So cute. So it's Mark Twain's Ouija Mystery, and it's all about this woman named Emily Grant Hutchings, who in the sort of 1915 going into 1916 made contact with what she claimed was the ghost of Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens. This is 6-7 years. He died in I think it was 6 years after his death, and she started channeling him through the Ouija board with the help of a psychic medium, and they wrote this entire novel via the Ouija board. Now this is a story I've talked about. It's in my Paranormal Parlor book a little bit. But it's something that I have always wanted to like really talk about. Cornwall, England. Thank you, Kathy. Yes, sorry, that was very like That was very American of me to just say Cornwall, right?
It's not, but I knew you meant the UK, but go ahead. So
UK, Cornwall.
you've
Yeah.
mentioned this lady before. I am positive I've heard you talk about her.
Yeah, she is fascinating to me. So when Jeff was like, "Hey, do you want to write an issue of this?" and I said, "Yeah, can I write about this?"
Sign me
Because
up.
I'd wanted to write about her, but not like everything I included in the book. It was short, and then also I've just been obsessed with her for years, and so I learned all of these additional things about her and things that happened after the book came out and all of this stuff. So I just took this deep dive into it, and Jeff was very indulgent and allowed me to just kind of give him what I wanted from the beginning to the end. And it's everything from like sort of the provenance of like what was happening in terms of spiritualism at the time and how that elevated women in the psychic arts, and we still lean on that today, to the story of how she made contact, her history with Twain, a couple of other women that have claimed to channel Twain's ghost and write works from that, and other channeled works, and then sort of like where Emily ended up. And interestingly, one of the lotuses, you brought up lotuses earlier, and lotuses actually represent immortality. And there is a lotus, there is a nymphae, water lily that is named after her. And that's her, basically her source of immortality. So the zine, you can find it at shadowzine.com. It's not available electronically. It's only available in print.
Physical. Yeah.
You order it directly from shadowzine.com. It's Jeff who's sticking it in an envelope and sending it to you. Or you can buy it from me at one of my, wherever I am. If I appear, I'll bring them with me. $10.
Yeah.
Total deal.
I thought it was a great
you can get
price.
all three. There's 3 issues. Look how gorgeous they are all together. He's done a beautiful job with the design. And then mine, actually, I feel very spoiled, very, very spoiled, because I have a lot of abundance in my life right now. I'm facing some challenges, as you know, and yet, I've got this gorgeous book with my glasses in it, but it's got, gilded edges and just a wealth of beauty and magic in it. And then this gorgeous little zine. His friend Frank Grace went to the Talking Board Museum and took photos. This is the actual book that Emily Grant Hutchings channeled. I got to show this off because this is my favorite part. Look he made the type go around the planchette. That's just so gorgeous. So anyone who's not listening, you just go to shadowzine.com, or anyone who's only listening and can't see, go to shadowzine.com and order it up. And all 3 issues are available. It's just been a great project to focus on because, of course, my book just came out, but as you know, I turned that manuscript in a year ago. So I've been sort of twiddling my thumbs, starting all of these different projects. And so when Jeff talked about this, it would just really gave me something glorious and beautiful to focus on. And, there's nothing like feeling like you're in a parlor with Emily Grant Hutchings in 1916 channeling the ghost of Twain to like take your mind off things. It's better than a TV show.
So did she release the book that she says she
wrote? So she channeled this book. She there's many, 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 many details to the story, which is why I was like, 6,000 words, please. That'd be great.
Yes.
I've got so much to say. But she released the book, and shortly after she released it, the Harper and Brothers publisher of Mark Twain, and Clara Clemens, who is his daughter, Samuel Clemens' daughter, the daughter of Mark Twain, they got wind of it, right? And they basically entered into this lawsuit with the man who published it, Mitchell Kennerly. But there's more to the story. It turns out that this guy who thought he was helping was harassing Clara and was asking her all of these questions, trying to quote unquote verify if the things that were coming through on the board were things that her father would have said. And she was super irritated. So by the time the book hit the stands, Clara was already irritated about the whole thing because this guy had been harassing her, because other people had made this claim and put out books and she didn't do anything about it. So the Harper brothers were basically like, we own Twain. You can't say Twain. maybe you can get away with saying Samuel Clemens, but you can't
Okay.
say Twain. That's copyrighted by us. This is copyright infringement. And it went all the way to the Supreme Court with threats of just like these amazing articles where they say the proof of the afterlife is going to be decided not by psychics but by lawyers in this court of law. I mean, it's just this incredible story, this incredible, like they take the Ouija board and they paint on it so it has more it's got like a semicolon and an M dash and a parentheses, so they can basically has keyboard shortcuts.
Yeah, how much love and dedication and time that took.
It took them at least a year. Wow. And I would say they did it just about every day for multiple hours a day. So whether you believe that she was tapping into Twain or she was just tapping into something, or she just kind of did this all as like some sort of grand publicity stunt, the story behind her and what she did. And also, like, she was a really successful writer, actually, by standards of that time. So she had a lot to lose by going out on a limb. And there's just so many delightful details to the story, all of which you can read in Shadow Zine issue 3. But yeah, buy it and enjoy it and talk to me about it when, to general public out there.
I looked it up today because I wanted to make sure I had the link and everything and be a little bit familiar with it, at least so we could talk about it. And I'm going to order all 3 copies.
You must, because they're all beautifully written. Richard's an incredible writer. Jeff, of course, is just an amazing writer, and he's just done an incredible job as a publisher. And the layout, I mean, really, like, he's got the Midas touch. Jeff.
Yeah. Like Carrie, I had not heard a lot because I don't, if I run into people, I meet them or whatever, somebody knows this person, knows that one. I had heard his name, but I'd never met him. And then Carrie Lynn Shelhorn had him on a show when she started on the network, I believe. And she was telling me how wonderful he was. And then when I heard he was coming up here for that conference, and oh my gosh, he is an absolute delight. Never mind just the energy about him. Like there's something about him, like magnetically, it almost feels like he's got such a positive, wonderful, fun energy I found about him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm going I'm going on a little book tour, and so I hope to meet him in real life during that period.
You said that. I couldn't believe it. You're on my show because you've been friends for years.
Like you and I, we've just known each other for years, but we've never actually met in real life. But you still feel very, very close.
You tell me after you meet him.
Yeah.
What you think of his energy, because I have not met him.
That guy's a jerk.
He's funny and he's entertaining, and there wasn't really, it seemed like, a master of ceremonies, so he just kind of naturally fell into that role.
I could see that. Yeah.
And it was, like I said, even though when he wasn't up front, he just had that energy about him. I found it like when you meet people and when you kind of feel that. And it wasn't just me, like you could tell other people he has kind of this magnetic type personality. Yeah, I really liked him.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Well, he did an amazing job with this publication. I'm very happy for him, and I hope it's incredibly successful, because
I'm going to be telling people about it all the time now that I know about it, because like I said, I've been pulling your book out. I have it on my bed right here so that I know it's here. The other thing I'm going to pull out quickly, because I mentioned her a few times, Debbie A. Anderson, who is my soul sister. I have no sister, so she's one of my soul sisters. I consider you one of my soul sisters.
Yes, I am. I agree.
She has put out her own oracle decks. I have
cool.
2 of them here. They're on, I think, almost half price right now. One of them is called, this is the Vibrational Energy Oracle cards. And this one is I Am Sacred Vibrational Energy. She's got a kids deck out. And
cool.
and she's got them on sale, you guys. So check them out. I showed you a little bit more about it on Thursday. So I'm not going to do that tonight, but Thursday, when it's sort of a more open type forum, I will. And I think you can get a hold of her. If you look her up on Debbie A. Anderson, she's on Instagram, Facebook. Her website, I believe, is vibrational-energy.com. Look them up. Like I say, her husband, Chris, also, he used to be what we call here an OPP. A lot of people I've been noticing that aren't from Canada are saying that our police services are only
OPP. What is that? What does that mean?
Okay, I'll tell you, but they all think it's just the Mounties or RCMP. Ontario, we are very different because we're one of the biggest provinces. So we have municipal police for city. We have the Ontario Provincial Police, or OPP, that govern the highways, rural, things like that. And then the role of the RCMP here, which I almost was once. We'll have to talk about that sometime.
I could see that. I could see that working for you.
I went through everything. There was a hiring freeze. It was during the first Gulf War. I went for an interview, everything. I still got the letter here somewhere. And they were on a hiring freeze for 6 months. And to come back, and I met my first husband in the meantime and never went.
Oh, wow.
I guess I wasn't meant to do that. But then the RCMP deal more with like internet fraud, people selling and doing things with illicit materials. And whereas all the other provinces pretty well just have municipal police. And then RCMP covers kind of what the OPP RCMP would do. But anyways, Chris, her husband, Chris Lee, used to be an OPP officer. Debbie's from the UK. He's from Canada. They got married. He does past life and future life regressions.
Ooh, I've always wanted to do a past life regression. I've never done
have
one.
to introduce you to him. He's wonderful.
Invite him to the cabin.
They don't live here. He has four. He has four, I believe 4 or 5 books out there. You may want to check them out. You can link to them from Debbie's. But also, there was something else I was going to say about that. His books and that's what it was. So they now live permanently in Mexico. Talk about living in paradise.
Okay. Field trip. Road trip.
Debbie's told me, like, are you coming? But we are out of time, you guys. I'm so glad you guys all joined and you asked great questions, comments. Also, stay tuned. The Light Gate's coming up with Preston Dennett and Dolly Saffron right after this. But Varla, tell them everything, where to get all these wonderful things.
Okay, so my book, Enchanted Plants, is available anywhere books are sold. It's all linked on my website. If you go to varlaventura.net, that's where you can get any of my books. You just click on there and find them. You can order them from all the major places and all the little places. And then Shadow Zine is Shadow Zine, Z-I-N-E, shadowzine.com. And that's where you can order the zine, unless you happen to run into me or Jeff or Richard at an event, and then we'll usually have a few in our backpacks.
Can people sign up like on your book tour? Like, do you know where you're going? Like, could they?
So on my website, if you click down on appearances, it shows all of the places that I'm going to be. And I've linked to, it's a lot of libraries, and there's a couple more events coming up. So I've linked to those, and some of the libraries ask you to register. And I'll try and update that as I know. But if you just click the link, you'll be able to see where that is. And those events are, it's basically between May 21st and June 3rd or 4th. I'll be mostly in Massachusetts.
Okay. Yeah. Well, wonderful. You guys know you're going to see Varla back here.
And then if you're in Minnesota, I've got some stuff here as well. So just, check it out. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. You guys know you're going to see her back on the Angel Rock. It was actually my partner, Del, when he used to do his own show, that came up with the concept of having you on each
seasonally
change of season.
I love that.
We've been doing, I've copied that, and I've done that. Hang tight there for a sec. Don't come on. I'm not off yet. Anyways, he's in here already. He's got to say hi. So I said, hang tight. Anyways, you guys, stay tuned. Next, I forgot to see who we're having on next week.
I think you said it.
A guest.
Yeah, you said it.
No, I don't think I did for next week while I'm going through this.
Oh, for next week. Sorry. I thought you meant next on the network.
Oh, no. For next week, I'll check it on my calendar. But anyways, you guys, if you ever want to get a hold of me, get a hold of me on Facebook.com/Angel Rock or any social media platform. Until Leanne and I get our course out, then I will be going to a domain name. But just shoot me a message. Usually Messenger is the fastest, but I get notifications for all my platforms. I have 2 groups on Facebook for all things paranormal. The Walker Tribe for all
in the house.
Yes, all things spiritual. Don't forget also, I will be back Thursday with Dave. With the thing at the foot of the bed, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here. And I want to thank you for being here. Hang on, I got to pull it up. Oh, we're having Nancy Year out. She is a new person to me. She's an author. I don't want to give the wrong idea, but I think it has to do with UFOs and stuff like that.
That sounds good.
So you guys all stay tuned. Love you all. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you Thursday. Thank you, Varla. Hang tight. And we will see you on Thursday, everybody, next Monday again. Hang